Hello everyone, welcome to the next video in architectural concept series. And in previous video, we talked about security layers, okay, defense in depth, where the outermost layer was physical security, then we had identity and access, perimeter, network, compute, application, and data. Okay, so physical is something which is taken care by the cloud providers. So we'll start with the identity and access. And today we are going to talk about certain practices, certain options that you can choose to secure your identity and access layer. Okay. In order to save some time, I have created this map, the diagram, so that we can just talk about it. So in order to make your identity layer secure, SSO plays a great role in it. Okay, there are a few things that I have mentioned. These are not the all, but the most important ones: SSO, multi-factor, conditional access, Azure AD ID protection, privileged identity management, securing legacy application with modern auth, and always give the permission that is needed, least privileged access. So we'll talk about each one of these and how these can help us to protect our identity layer. Okay, well, the more identities a user has to manage, the greater is the risk of a credential related security incident. More identities means more passwords to remember, and change password policies can vary between applications. Okay, so it is always good to have a single ID and password so that your users need not to keep track of all the IDs and password. There are chances of losing them. And similarly, same thing goes for the help desk or the administrators who is managing it. Even they need not to manage so many IDs and password, which leads to a human error maybe, or losing the credentials. It could be the possibility if somebody has left the organization, there are like so many ID and passwords, and it couldn't be, all may not be expired. Some ID is still left there which is active. But if you're using a single ID and password, it is very simple. You can simply delete or expire or disable a single ID, right? Your users need not to keep track of all the IDs. It will increase their productivity and also decreases the chances of losing the identities tremendously. Okay, we all know the beauty of SSO, the need of SSO, but here it is more like, as I've mentioned, AD Connect. We are talking about cloud. Okay, we are talking about the hybrid environment. We are talking about when on-premises wants to go to the cloud, or maybe one of the branches already in the cloud. In such scenarios, Azure AD has this inbuilt support for synchronizing your Windows or on-premises Active Directories users or accounts to the cloud. This means that all your applications, whether on-premises, in the cloud, or even mobile, can share the same credentials. Administrators and developers can control access to data and application using centralized rules and policies through uh, in Azure AD, right? It is more like when you use, we have already created a separate video for Azure AD in our AD Connect in AZ300 series. If you wanna look, do check that video. It would have all the information which is needed to learn about AD Connect. But this video is more about architectural concepts. So AD Connect is a tool, or is a feature inside Azure AD, which is the identity and access management of Azure Cloud, that you can download and install on your on-premises, and you sync your IDs and accounts to the cloud. There are three different kind of authentication processes that you can choose as per your need requirement: password hash, pass-through, and ADFS. Okay. And this reduces user friction by suppressing multiple authentication requests. When you install AD Connect, there is an option to choose enable SSO, and you can enable it there. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about multi-factor authentication, right? It limits the credentials exposure impact. It is more like when you're using a multi-factor authentication, that means you are going to implement a second set of authentication with the help of something you know, or something you possess, or something you are. Okay, those kind of thing, like something you know would be a password or answer to a security question. Something you possess could be a mobile app that receives a notification, or a token generating device, like we have RSA device in most of the offices, a token. And something you are is typically some sort of biometric property, such as fingerprint or face scan, those kind of things. This helps us to provide additional security to your identities. And using MFA increase security of your identity by limiting the impact of credential exposure that I've mentioned here. See? Cool. An attacker who has a user password would also need to have uh, possess the phone or their second auth that they have chosen in the process. A lone password cannot do anything, right? And Azure AD has MFA capabilities built in and will integrate with the other third-party MFA providers as well. It's provided free of charge to any user who has the global admin role in Azure AD, as these are highly sensitive accounts. Okay. Now the next one is conditional access. Uh, Along with here I have mentioned uh, along with MFA, ensuring that additional requirements are met before granting access can add another layer of protection. Okay. So blocking logins from suspicious IP address or denying access from devices without malware protection could limit access from risky sign-ins. Azure AD provides a conditional access policy feature that includes support for access policy based on group, location, or device state. Okay. All right. What is next now? Next, we have Azure AD ID protection. It's automatic response to risk and vulnerabilities. Okay. So Azure AD ID protection helps to automate response to the risk and vulnerabilities. And these all features that we are talking about, MFA, CA, they you need some kind of license to use them, P1 or P2. For Azure AD ID protection, we need P2. Okay. And as name suggests, it helps to make your environment more secure by increasing the security of user identities, by detecting potential vulnerabilities affecting user identities, or configuring conditional access policies to automatically respond to suspicious action, or investigating suspicious incident and resolving them automatically. It is more like if a user has a history to log in from certain place, now he logs in from other place or VPN instead of Office, so there would be a flag. Okay, it's not normal. It figured out as an anomaly. Okay, and it is more like if you log in from India and after 5 minutes you try to log in from US, that's not possible. So ID protection, Azure AD ID protection will catch it. Okay. Stolen user identities are the number one cause of security breaches. Attackers leverage phishing attacks and malware to gain access to the system. And Azure AD ID protection removes much of this effort by providing a comprehensive solution. Okay, they use the machine learning as well for their, you know, risky sign in and all of the information that it provides. It takes proactively prevents compromised identities from accessing resources because it's getting data from the machine learning, information from the machine learning and data all around the world, because Microsoft is presence of Microsoft is everywhere. So provides recommendation to improve security by analyzing vulnerabilities such as user and sign-in risk. Okay, notify admins of risk events, allow admin to create policies to automatically mitigate risk events. Now, we can also utilize privileged ID management. We also call it PIM with the help of just-in-time access. So organizations want to minimize the number of people who have access to secure information or resources because that reduces the chance of a malicious actor getting that access or an other unauthorized user, you know, getting the access or have the access, though he or she not supposed to have that access. Okay. However, users still need to carry out privileged operations in Azure AD, right? So there should be some kind of process or some kind of feature which will give the access only for a certain period of time, only for certain users. Okay, so this is where the PIM comes. Azure AD Privileged Identity Management is a service that enables you to manage, control, and monitor access to important resources in your organizations. These resources include resources in Azure AD, Azure, and other Microsoft online services like O365 or Intune. Okay, and this PIM provides time-based and approval-based role activation to mitigate the risk of excessive, unnecessary, or misused access permissions on resource that you care about. Okay, now let's talk about securing legacy application with modern auth. Well, as I said in the beginning, in hybrid environment scenarios, most of the time employees require secure remote access to their administrative application hosted on premises. Okay, users currently authenticate to the application using Windows integrated authentication from their domain joined machines behind the corporate firewall. But if you already have your infra on cloud, then why don't you use modern authentication? With the help of easy application proxy and also cater the remote users and integrating modern auth with existing application in such scenarios gives you power of managed identity system where you can explore the third party ID provider and Azure AD B2C as well. Azure Application Proxy can quickly, easily, and securely allow the application to be accessed remotely without any code changes. Okay, right. So, and last but not the least, that is least privileged access. We have already talked about this a lot of times in previous videos. This is something you don't give access to somebody who doesn't need, and always start with the minimum access so that you control. That's why we also have RBAC roles in Azure AD. Well, these are the few tools and features inside the Azure AD that can help you secure your layer, identity and access layer. Well, that's all about it. We'll start another layer in next video. Thank you for watching. You have a good day. Bye bye.